welcome to Santa Barbara Forum. My name's Juliet Bischoff, and I'm your host for today, Valentine's Day 2024. So as we begin, I want to say that this is a day of love for your family, your friends, and for our country. And I want to welcome our guest today, Bobbi McGinnis. She is the chair of the Santa Barbara Republican Central Committee, and I want to have her tell us exactly who she is and how she got to be chair.
Well, I came here, Julie, to Santa Barbara when I was 10 years old in 1961, when California was the Golden State. I'm a first-generation American. My parents came over from Europe after World War II. They came to America because it was the land of opportunity, the land of freedom. There wasn't as much socialism or government control of people's lives, and my parents wanted to live the American dream. My older brother was born in England, and the rest of my siblings, I have three, I have a twin sister and a younger brother, were all born here in America. So we're first-generation Americans.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm a native Santa Barbarian, so I'm invested in Santa Barbara too. I absolutely love California, love Santa Barbara. I remember this being the Golden State, and I'm hoping that we will have the opportunity here to bring it back to being the Golden State. So Bobbi, when did you get involved in politics, and how did you become chair?
Well, I started campaigning in 2012, and there was an office there on Upper State Street, and I would go there, and they taught me how to walk and knock on doors, which is, by the way, my favorite thing to do in politics is knocking on the door and speaking to voters. And I was campaigning for Mike Stoker at the time. There was also Mitt Romney was running for president at the time. So we were, I was knocking on doors, I made phone calls, learned a lot about election integrity, and then I decided to go as a guest to the Central Committee along with my husband and our neighbor, Alberto Mercado, and went as a guest, and soon after being there for a little while, Mike Stoker asked me to be his alternate. So I started on the Central Committee as an alternate for Mike Stoker in an official capacity. Not long after there, I became a secretary, and I was secretary for 5 of our chairs. I was secretary for Greg Gandrud, who's now our state treasurer, by far a very wonderful mentor. And then I also served under Dale Francisco. I had Christine Molikoff. We also had Tom Woodrow. So I had a variety of chairs that I served under as the secretary. So I learned a lot during that time period. I also worked on a lot of different campaigns. Chris Mitchum's campaign, Frank Hotchkiss' campaign, worked with Executive Director Adam Lester, who's now working for Ted Cruz. And that training was invaluable. So what happened, how I became chair, was in 2019, Tom Woodrow was the chair at the time, had to step down, and then the committee asked me if I would take over, which I readily, at that point, I was ready to do and was glad to do it, and I stepped in as chair as 2019.
So all your training as secretary under a variety of chairs gave you the opportunity to see how different chairs operated and how successful they were, what they did that worked, didn't work. So you came in and you were elected by the committee in 2019.
Yes.
Okay, so you've been chair
unanimously.
Unanimously, that's awesome. And then you have been chair since then. And what have you seen since you've been chair that you think has really worked? And is the committee in a much better position than it was? Where do you see you are? Where do you want to go?
Well, in 2019, when I took over, I decided that I was a hands-on person. I like to campaign. This is Bob Nelson's hat. You'll see me campaigning, knocking on doors with Bob's hat. This is Sari's button. She's our assembly candidate. I'd like to be able to do, I don't ask volunteers to do anything that I'm not willing to do. So part of my job is, number one, organizing and helping the volunteers to get organized to be able to walk precincts. So when I came on in 2019, very few people had the skill set to make maps or to access our data center to look up voters. So one of the first things I instituted was opening up the gates, if you would, to all the members of our committee to be able to help us recruit for candidates. So my goal in the beginning was, first off, just we always have to offer a choice. If our voters don't have a choice between a Democrat and Republican, how can we possibly make a difference in our community? So in our first attempt at this was in 2020. We recruited, I believe, around 60 candidates, of which 42% of them won their seats.
Okay.
Many of them were unopposed. Like I always tell people, Republicans do really well unopposed. And
Okay.
in 2022, we built on that success of 2020, and we actually recruited 90 candidates. And it wasn't just the Central Committee. We had lots of clubs in the area that were helping us, Republican clubs of Carpinteria, Santa Barbara, Lompoc, Santa Maria. Because remember, this is not a club. This is a county committee. So our representation comes up from New Kiama, Guadalupe, from Carpinteria, Santa Barbara, Goleta, and it's really the entire county. Lompoc, San Ynez are all part of the committee.
It's a big county, and I know from personal experience, because I've been secretary under you, and I became part of the committee, that there is a lot of driving that you do to go and to help not only candidates, but various offices that we now have. You put in a ton of work. So if there were 90 candidates that you found positions for in 2022, how many open seats were there?
There were 99 open seats.
And go ahead.
Yeah, and we had 90 candidates that we were able to recruit.
Wow.
And then of those 90, we had 66 that actually either walked in or won their seat on the ballot. The number of people who actually walked in unopposed was 42. So in fact, Sean Steele calls it the Santa Barbara surprise, because we actually had people who they filed the last day of filing, and they walked into that position of being on school board or city council, and they were unopposed. Many of them were last minute filings.
That's just amazing. Now in the current year, we have the primary and we have the November election. So how many candidates are you having to find and recruit?
For this November, there will be 140 seats up for election. That's around the county. So we already have people diligently asking people to run for office, and it's hard to run for office in a county that's so heavy Democrat. But we do have to, the way that we as a party can grow is by growing our bench. And the more people we get established on the bench, the more experience they have, the more they can move up the ladder to be able to run for supervisor, assembly, congressman, just like the Dems do.
Right, and we have on because I'm part of the committee and I'm currently the assistant treasurer, there is a new website, and it's sbcrp.org. And if people are interested in running, I believe that there is a section there that helps them figure out what they need to do to become a candidate. So if they wanted to, they could go to that. They can also call you. And what kind of support can they expect from the committee?
Well, local candidates really are responsible for their own campaign. However, what the committee can do, we can supply materials, we can supply websites, we can help them to find a treasurer to manage their campaign. And then the volunteers, most volunteers will come for the candidates. That's the easiest way. So for example, Sarah Domingos comes from a very large family. They've had 9 generations in Santa Maria and Napomo. And so she has a wide network of family members that will help her to walk precincts and talk to voters about her as a candidate. So, we have limited resources in the sense that we We do as much for a candidate as we possibly can. We do have a couple people on board that can help with training a person how to dress, how to get their message out, what is their message, help them to articulate their message, and then basically to running a campaign is a lot of hard work. And when you're running for a school board seat, one of the best things a campaign can do is just simply go knocking door to door, introducing themselves to voter. So one thing that our committee can do is help them get a list of voters that they need to be talking to.
Okay, and then they also can walk with the voter guide that you put together, and that has all the voter information for the entire county for what someone would need to know who to vote for. Okay, and that's also a slate.
Yeah, it's a slate, and it's also in a downloadable, printable version on the website.
Okay.
So if you didn't receive one at your doorstep, this is the one that was used that we're dropping off at the doors. And we have it this size on purpose because if you look at this size, it's perfect to stick it on your refrigerator. So it was ideal for us to drop off to our local voters, so they don't have to lose it. They can just pin it onto their refrigerator.
That's terrific. And then one of the main things in this March primary, and you're focusing on, is the 3rd district, because the redistricting came to be after the census, and now that UCSB and Isla Vista voters are in 2nd district instead of 3rd district, we have a candidate named Frank Troyce who is running for supervisor of 3rd district. Would you talk about Frank and what you see in him?
I mean, this is the exciting news for Republicans in 3rd district. The process of redistricting was really a 5 to 6 year process. The first step of the process was getting a ballot measure on the ballot, and that was in 2018. And we were able to get the ballot on, and we were able to have an independent redistricting commission. We were the first redistricting commission that was independent from the County Board of Supervisors in the state of California, and I believe we were one of 2 in the entire United States. So this was a trial, if you will, to see how it what would it be like to have representation from the community of 11 commissioners to redesign the boundaries of our community. In the 10 years that's passed since that was done, the shift of our county has moved north. So
Right.
Our population in Northern County has grown faster than South County. So what has happened is the lines for the 3rd district now include the city of Lompoc, city of Solvang, the city of Buellton, and a portion of the city of Goleta. So it no longer includes Isla Vista and the UCSB students. That's a 10,000 vote shift from where we were 4 years ago.
So the people in the North County over the mountains, the agricultural area, that whole area that has been basically controlled by UCSB and Isla Vista students, who often don't stay here at all very long, that area now has a chance to really elect someone who believes in what they believe in.
The 3rd district seat is our swing seat. So we have 2 more conservative supervisors in North County in 5th and 4th district, Bob Nelson and Steve Lavanino.
Lavanino, okay.
Yes.
Hard to say.
And so the 3rd district seat is the swing seat. Laura Capps and Doss Williams in 2nd and 1st are very embedded with the Democratic Party. And so this election is our chance to break the power of the Democrats. The second goal I had at becoming chair is I wanted to be able to move us in a direction of a 2-party system, at least here in the county. I can't affect national politics. I don't affect state politics, but I can affect the politics of our county. So if we can get Frank Troyce elected in March or possibly November, because there's 3 candidates now, that will be a change that will resonate to every member of our community. And this is a chance to get to common sense regulations. Frank's mission is he wants to focus on revenue. Did you know, Julie, that in December, our budget director, Paul Clemente, said in 48 months, our county is going to be broke.
That is astounding. And you know, I was listening to Frank Troyce at his meet and greet just last week, and his plan for bringing revenue into the county, and my background is in taxes and accounting, it made so much sense. It was just a great, fantastic eye-opener about how Santa Barbara can bring in so much revenue. And he was saying the county and the county board of supervisors, they control so many things in our lives that we don't even realize. And he was talking about Santa Barbara County being basically in the business of real estate. And what has happened so often is the Democrats allow the removal of more and more property from our property tax rolls because they put it into government hands, and government doesn't pay property taxes.
Or, for example, UCSB.
Right.
Every time UCSB buys an apartment block out in Isla Vista, or like the Francisco Torres in Isla Vista, they all of a sudden, those properties no longer supply property tax revenue to the county to support our sheriff's department, our fire department, and all the employees that work for the county. Our county should be the wealthiest county in the United States. We have so many an abundance of natural resources, but we're not allowed to tap into it because our current county government is squashing private enterprise, squashing businesses from coming into the county. The high cost of housing, which I hear people complain all over the county, is largely, a lot of that has been created by not just demand, but the fact that the policies that the county have employed towards real estate development has really impacted housing prices.
Yeah, it really has. And Frank was talking about how it would be possible to bring $200 million into the county, and the county needs $100 million. And what he said, I mean, you look at it, go to his website and find out how he knows and how he has done this in the past, raising over $100 million. He really has the expertise to really make a difference in our county for all of us. And this ridiculousness of removing land and from our property tax rolls just means that the rest of us have to pay more. So we really are hoping that Frank will be the one who becomes
he is the right choice for third district. He is the right
choice for third district, definitely.
And one thing I would also mention, he's talking about a fully funded county. Our county administrators just balanced the budget for the county, but they did so by pulling out of the county reserves. Now, the difference between a fully funded county and balancing it with reserves is that your police department and sheriff departments are not. The sheriff department's not fully funded. Right now, they're short about 52 deputies. Part of them are custody deputies, and others are on the street deputies. But they're short 52 out of the 300 they need to be fully funded. And the county's not looking at fully funding the sheriff department. They're looking at cuts, because so if we were able to realize the development and the bring in businesses into Santa Barbara, clean energy businesses that are going to be able to provide great jobs and great income. And what Frank would like to see happen, for example, this is a perfect example. The Glen Annie Golf Course now is up for being rezoned. It's an ag land that was made into a golf course, public facility. And Goleta residents are up in arms because the county wanted to put 1,500 homes on the Glen Annie Golf Course, rather than keeping it open space and a golf course for public enjoyment. So Frank said, why is the county shoving these high density, and we're talking high density, 7-story high buildings of housing in these semi-rural areas, and when there's an area of the county, Lompoc, which 30 years ago They invested in the infrastructure to expand, to allow another 10, 15, 20,000 people to move into their community. They are desperately looking for businesses to move into the area.
Right.
And so therefore it doesn't make sense that they're trying to stuff these high-rise buildings here in Santa Barbara and not allowing Lompoc to expand its boundaries and invest in more.
Lompoc wants it.
They want it.
Does not.
They want middle income and high income housing. Lompoc carries the burden of the Section 8 housing for the county. They carry 30% of it. They wanted to get to more middle class, upper class, executive type housing and attract those businesses that are in connection with SpaceX, in connection with Google, that can move into the area, that'll bring high paying jobs and more revenue to the county. So a fully funded county would mean that we would have almost 600 sheriff and custody officers working in the sheriff department.
Which you were telling me in Lompoc, now they've had how many murders? And the murder rate has gone way up. They're totally underfunded. And the crime rate, they have gangs, they have all sorts of problems up there, and they really need the assistance of extra deputies and extra sheriffs.
Well, now Lompoc has its own police department,
right?
But it is desperate for funding. Its fire department is desperate for funding.
Right.
So by the county not allowing Lompoc to annex on additional housing, what's happened is $8 million of revenue was not going to the city of Lompoc, it's going to the county coffers instead. So the vision that Frank has is we need to take this jewel of a community, Lompoc, and we need to help it to become grow it to be what it was meant, what the visionaries had 30 years ago.
Right.
Let it become a prosperous area of the county, and instead not be what the Democrats call it, the armpit of the county.
Which it is not. And this leads me into Proposition 1, which is on the ballot, and I think we should take a minute and talk about what it would do, because we are recommending a no vote on Proposition 1. It will take $140 million out of the county and out of county control and move it to the state. And we all know how efficient dollars under the state are. And so what we would like to see is a definite no. They are saying that this will help with veteran housing, with more low-income housing.
Homeless housing.
But what it's going to do is take money away from our homeless shelters, from our mental health centers, and it's going to go actually to the developers to build this housing at an absolutely exorbitant amount of money per unit. And I think we all realize that putting a homeless person into a unit without training, without support, without jobs, without all of that is really a ridiculous thing to do. We need to take this money, keep it here in the county under control, and not have it go to the state as they would wish under Prop 1. It's really a power grab.
Yeah, Howard Jarvis says it's the state taking control of more of the county's assets. And we want the state to stay out of county business, because the closer you have government, efficient government, working with the people who live in the community, the better government you have. The further away you get, when you talk about the state of California is right now trying to take over our planning departments. And those planning departments are under all kinds of obligation to the state, if you will. One thing that Frank Troyce wants to do, he wants to fight back on the state, to fight them as to why are they trying to take over the planning commissions when the planning commissions are supposed to be working for the people who live in the community.
And so, he really has great ideas about how to help us all get through the planning commissions, because it is very difficult to get not only a permit and your plans approved and to get everything built and done, and there's absolutely no reason that has to continue. So we are definitely supporting Frank Troyce.
Frank Troyce.
And now
the right choice
for
Santa Barbara County.
For Santa Barbara County. Now I'd like to go into the Central Committee. And a lot of people have never even heard of the Central Committee. I hadn't heard of it until I think about 2012, and that's really not good. How does it work? What does it do? What's it in charge of?
Well, the Central Committee is the legal arm of the state party of the Republican Party. There's a Republican county Central Committee, and there's a Democrat party, a county party. So both of those entities are legal entities, and we're governed by codes and restrictions that are created by the state of California. In addition to that, we have our own bylaws, which we are governed by, our body's governed by. We are a group of volunteers. We are elected to the positions. That's why you'll see in District 1, 2, and 3, there are runoffs or not runoffs, but there are competitions for seats on our Central Committee. The Central Committee, as the legal arm of the state, has a huge influence. One of my jobs as the chair is we have delegates that go to our state convention. And in the last cycle, when I first started in 2019, we had like 4 to 6 delegates that would go to the convention. Then in 2022, we managed to get up to about 15 people that were able to go as delegates to the convention. And I'm really proud of the fact that in this last cycle, this last convention, we were able to get 21 delegates appointed to go to the convention. Each one of those delegates gets a vote on on state decisions, statewide decisions regarding who the chair is going to be, who the treasurer is going to be, also on platform issues, whether we're going to support one candidate over another, whether we're going to make changes or initiatives that are put forth, are we going to adopt them or not? And the convention is a great way not only to learn about government, but also to get trained on how to use the tools that the state party's been able to provide us to make better volunteers.
Okay, this sounds like it's just really a great way to get involved. So one of the questions that I constantly get is, why does each supervisorial district have a different number of delegates? And
good question.
Okay, can you explain that to people?
It's a little bit complicated. There's a formula on the state code that actually tells you it's not based upon the number of registered Republicans, and our county is considered a mid-sized county. So our Central Committee is based on supervisorial districts. You go to San Diego County, their Central Committee is based on assembly districts. So it's a little bit different. Their caucus is based on assembly districts, not based on supervisorial. But ours is supervisorial, Ventura is supervisorial, so is San Luis Obispo. So what that means is, and how we determine the number, this last cycle we had in District 5 had so few Republicans actually voted in the Supervisor District 5 that we only are going to get 2 commissioners sitting on the Central Committee from District 5. District 5 includes Guadalupe and a portion of the city of Santa Maria. District 4, however, has had a great deal of Republicans who voted in the last election cycle, the governor's cycle. And that district, that supervisor district, is going to have 7 representatives. And then you go to District 3, which has 5. You go to, which is San Ynez and Lompoc, that's a new District 3. You come down to District 2, which includes a portion of the city of Goleta and a portion of Santa Barbara, and Nolita. That creates District 2, and they have 4 representatives. And then District 1, which comes all the way over from Carpinteria. It goes from Carpinteria over to just beyond Tucker's Road to Old San Marcos Road. It goes up the Highway 154, across the mountain to Cuyama and New Cuyama, that there's a line split up there, and it goes so it includes all of Montecito, all of Summerlin, all of Carpinteria, the New Cuyama area, that portion that is more north of the Cathedral Oaks and Foothill. So it includes all the Foothill area, but from Tucker's Grove, if you will, and all the way across the Riviera.
Now, you and I used to be in District 2, the same district.
Yeah, that's true.
Which had 5 and is now going to 4. And you're going to District 1. I'm
Yes.
staying in District 2, and some of our members of District 2 have moved to District 3, all based on redistricting. So one of the things that is really amazing and speaks to what you have done in a great leadership role is that we used to have to really try and find people to be on the Central Committee. Now we have, in District 1, 2, and 3, races for those who want to be on the Central Committee. And the slate that the county Republican Party has produced has endorsements of certain members. And so how did that come about, that the County Central Committee endorsed some members and not others, or some candidates and not others?
Yeah, our bylaws allow us to do the endorsements. We've done it in the past. This time I felt it was important. I thought, and the executive committee agreed with me, most of them anyway, that we felt it was important for one very, very big reason. And that is that our treasurer is in 1st District and our assistant treasurer is in 2nd District. And we, as an organization in January of 2025, it is very important that Dar Ringling and Julie Bischoff managed to get across the aisle, across the line to be available for us in January of 2025. And I realized that I felt like we had a fiduciary responsibility to our community to give them our recommendation on who we felt were the better candidates. And part of that was the pressure was because we have to make sure we have a qualified treasurer to be elected for the 2025 committee.
Well, I really appreciate that, Bobbi. Thank you. My background is in taxes. I was an enrolled agent. It's in auditing and things like that, bonding companies, unions, payroll, that whole thing. And then I got into political accounting.
It's a completely different ball game.
That's completely different. It is something that you have to get into. The rules are extremely strict. They seem to be written so that there can be more penalties collected. For example, one of the rules, if a candidate receives over $1,000, they have 24 hours in which to report it. Mm-hmm. That is very difficult. It doesn't matter if it's a Saturday or a holiday or whatever, it's 24 hours. So you have to be really on top of all these different forms and things that are handed to you as treasurer. I was secretary for a while, and I really learned a lot more about the committee. And now being treasurer, Dar Ringling, our current treasurer, was taught by Greg Gandrud, who's our state treasurer for the GOP. And Dar's helping me learn this process so that we stay in compliance with all the state and the federal rules.
In addition to that, we actually hire someone in Sacramento, Rebecca Luby, who is part of a political solutions company that oversees all the documents that DAR is filing to make sure they're done properly. And the reason why there's so much care taken with the treasurer is that the treasurer is the one person on the committee that can actually go to jail if things are done incorrectly.
No, I don't want to hear that.
And people need to understand the rules. The FBC rules, it's a 300-page document of rules. The FPPC is about almost 200 pages of rules and regulations. I know how difficult it's been for us to recruit treasurers for our local candidates, which we're talking about city council candidates and school board candidates. Difficult to find treasurers because most CPAs do not want to even risk the opportunity of making a mistake for the FEC or the FPPC. So this is an important role, and one of the reasons why we decided to endorse this last this election cycle. They're all good people, and the great news is that whoever doesn't make it across the line can be an alternate rather than be the regular member. Right. Now the other thing to make clear too is that whoever gets elected in March of 2025, the election is over in March. There's no runoffs. It's whoever gets the most votes wins. And those individuals don't become members or don't take over the committee until there's an organizational meeting in January of 2025. And it's a meeting of all the committee to decide who's going to be the new chair, who's going to be the treasurer. We're hoping Dar and Julie will make it so they can fill that slot, and and all the different other positions of the committee. So, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how different and how diverse our committee is. We have Latinos, we have farmers, we have small business owners, we have graphic artists, we have typists, we have cannabis growers, we have strawberry growers, blueberry growers. I do think we have one grape for wine grower too. So we have they come from all walks of life. And some of our people are multimillionaires. Some of our people live on Social Security. So across the county, we have a very, very wide variety of people and influence on the Central Committee. But one of the things that I have come under attack is because I believe in a big tent. I think in order for us to grow the Republican Party here in California, we are in a very secular district. Only 12% of the county attend church. And so therefore, our party's mission is we want good government. We want common sense government. We want government that is using our tax money efficiently and not be corrupt. Not corrupt. We don't want corruption in our government. Right. So one of the only issues that the Democrats have held over our party or our county, if you will, is all the social issues. So I'm a chair that believes that we need to have representation from pro-life people as well as pro-choice people. I welcome people of different family lifestyles, if you will. Not that I'm not a believer in having strong families, I am. But it's important that we have open mind and tolerance for adults making adult decisions. I think that's important.
And that's adults, not our children. They need to be adults before they make those kinds of decisions of what kind of lifestyle they want. But we have members who are living different lifestyles, and they are wonderful people and totally welcome. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is that each of the candidates that's running for office in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd district had the opportunity to, in a Zoom meeting, to present their ideas and their positions in front of the
reason for running.
And their reason for running in front of the entire committee. And so after that, at another meeting, there was a vote taken, and it was a secret ballot, and it was 2/3 was required of the votes cast to be endorsed by the committee.
That's right.
In accordance with our bylaws. So there was a process that was followed, and the entire committee was involved in choosing who was endorsed and who was not.
Right.
So we are supporting the endorsed candidates on our slate. But
and being a central committee, one of the most important things we can do is also support our elected officials. I've been working with the state party because I really feel that many of our candidates are new to school board, new to city council. They need to have a hotline that they can call into to be if there's some policy issue, or there may be it's something they're just not sure how to handle because they're brand new at it, that to have a hotline for them, much like realtors do, and having a hotline if they have a situation in a contract that they need help with. I would like to see that move forward with the state party, and I'm hoping that Sean Steele is going to help us make that happen here during this next cycle.
Well, one of the things that I became aware of is that Bobbi, as chair of our Santa Barbara committee, is that you meet once a month with the other 58 or however many county chairs there are, and you have really put in some ideas that they have adopted, and you have been a crucial part of how this state GOP has moved forward in bringing digital information and access and ease of use of things like Sidekick, to our campaigns and our messaging.
I really can't take credit for that, Julie.
Oh, you
The
can't?
person who can take credit for that is Jessica Patterson.
Okay,
She
Jessica
and her
is the chair of the GOP.
She's the chairman of the GOP, and the one thing I can take credit for is that we've taken advantage of it.
Okay.
We've had many people get trained on how to registered voters, how to ballot harvest. We've also had trainings on integrity, election integrity. We are right now currently, what's really important too is to get poll workers so that we have people on the ground in the polls. Something that your audience may not be aware of is that in 2022, November 4th, the election happened, everyone went to the polls. Right? Wrong. It was pouring with rain. We had flooding in Santa Barbara. We had flooding in San Ynez. We had sinkholes in Santa Maria. So what happened is that a lot of people didn't make it to the polls, and that really impacted the Republicans, who tend to hold on to their ballots and take them to the polls rather than vote from putting it in the mail or going to the drop box. So we have a campaign that's been called Bank Your Vote. We're asking people to please don't delay, get your vote in today. And one of the reasons we do that is that, number one, it's a dollar. It costs us $1 for the ballot to get in the first week. It cost us $20 to get that ballot in the day of the election. And what I mean by paying for the ballot, we're not paying people to vote. No, it's the cost to remind people to get out to vote. So the sooner you vote, the sooner your name comes off the file. You'll stop getting mail, you'll stop getting the text messages, you'll stop getting the phone calls. And so that is why we're asking people to get their ballots in quickly. And then in 2022, after the election was done, there was still an extra 5 or 6 days that the county has for they'll still accept ballots. So one of the things we were able to do, we were able to help different areas with the curing of the ballot. So for example, I was able to pull a list the day after the election of 1,500 people whose ballots had been rejected, either because a signature match, or they forgot to sign the ballot, or they put their ballot in their wife's envelope and they didn't put theirs in the proper envelope. There were just there was either no signature or there was mismatched signatures. There was a smaller team of us. We chose those elections in that county in the November 4th election that had less than 50 votes. It came down to about 7
right?
in difference, whether they were ahead or behind by less than 50 votes. We wanted to make sure that every ballot counted, and we actually had a team of people who cured many of those ballots.
I remember helping you do that, and it was a term that I had never heard before, curing a ballot. I didn't even know it was possible. So this is something that is very important, that you get in and vote early, so that there is a problem. If there is a problem with your ballot, they actually will contact you and you can
go in and fix it
as soon as possible. We also have something on the back of our slate mailer, which is a scan code right here that you can go to, and you can track your ballot to see that it has been received and that it is going to be counted. So that's available on the slate mailer. It's also available on our website. Right?
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely recommend ballot tracking when you do, if you want to drop it. And don't be afraid to drop it in the mail. Our mail service here in the county, I've been to their Stork Avenue, where they have a big sign that says all of the political mail has to be served first. And they very much pride themselves in taking care of the ballots. But if you are concerned about it, there are the drop box options, or if you need help getting your ballot to the elections office, make a phone call to our phone number, our GOP phone number, and we will help arrange to get someone either to take you to the poll or take you to the elections office, or we'll pick up your ballot and deliver it to the elections office.
Yes, we will. And the other thing is to make sure that you have received your ballot. This is the guide, this is not the actual ballot, but make sure that you have received it, because if you haven't, do call, do get that straightened out. You want to make sure it didn't get lost in the mail or go to a different address. And the earlier you do it, the sooner it can be rectified. Anyway,
So right now we really need volunteers to work at the polls, and then we like to have poll observers. We have a program called Adopt a Box.
Right.
It's a way that you can get in. You can actually watch a box and be like a secret agent watching the box, making sure that they're closed down properly on election night. We've had people do that. It's actually kind of fun to do, and you follow them in and see how they process the ballots.
Right.
I do give kudos to our elections office here. Michael Bailey and his team are really trying to do the best job that they can. The problem we have is that we have such loose rules here in California that setups makes it for fraud. I will say that if you get your ballot in early, one of the things that stops immediately is anyone voting in your place. So
Yes.
once you get your ballot in, there's no longer a way that someone can vote as you at the poll.
And I highly recommend after this primary election in March, because the election officials do not want to see you except on real business for this election right now, but to take a tour of the election headquarters.
Yes.
They are more than willing to take you through the process. It's absolutely fascinating. It's very educational. I think it should be done with all of our high school students. And
They should.
So get together with your nonprofit groups or something, call up, make an appointment, and have an event and take a tour of the office. It really would be helpful to all of us to be more educated on how the process works.
Yeah, that reminds me that one of the things I'm very proud about too, for accomplishments over the last few years, is that for the first time in decades, we've been able to keep offices open. We have an office open in Lompoc to the generosity of one of our donors. That's been open for a long time now.
These are Republican
offices, campaign headquarters. And we have campaign headquarters in Santa Maria. We were able to keep it open for the last 2 years, and we have one at La Cumbre Road on 55 South La Cumbre Road, Suite 4. That office is the first time we've had an office open in Santa Barbara consistently for 2 years. And what we've been able to do with those offices during the off cycle, and even right now, we have what we call the Patriot Academy Constitution classes. They are 6-week courses which are educating people and children and adults about the Constitution and their rights. We have in Santa Maria, that the office up there has had classes for almost 200 people. And our office down here in Santa Barbara, it's around 100 to 150. We've taught numerous coaches, and some of those coaches are now going into other areas like churches, or going in their neighborhoods, having neighborhood meetings, teaching people about the Constitution and their rights.
And trying to get it into the schools also, so that our children come out of school a little bit educated, a lot more than they normally are, about the importance of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and what this, and the classes go into the history of how they brought all the documents together and made the Constitution what it is today. It's absolutely fascinating. It's once
historically
a week.
based. Yeah, once a
for
week.
6 weeks, and there's no fee. You can start and stop. I've actually had to start and stop and take different sessions. So we welcome anybody and everybody to those classes.
If you'd
and
like,
we're very happy to
just
do
again,
that.
call a number, go to our website. You'll be able to see the schedule. If you go to events, you can see the schedule of those classes, when they're happening, when they're starting, and how you can sign up. But and so yeah, that's also been a big part of our offices. We also have a lecture series, and we on tomorrow night we're going to have Bob Nelson there from 5 to 7. It's a meet and greet. It's also Bob's going to be talking about the role of the supervisor and what a supervisor is able to do. So it's a really great opportunity to meet our only Republican serving at the Board of Supervisors, and to ask him your questions. It's a really great opportunity to do that.
And after that, we are going to have the candidate, Sari Dominguez, come. She's running for state assembly, and she's going to do another wine and cheese meet and greet. And you can find out more about that on the website. There's no fee, and find out what her position is and why she is running, because she is from Santa Maria, multi-generational, and very passionate about California, where it should go, and how she can help make that happen. Her educational background and work experience is amazing.
Stellar.
Yeah, it's stellar. She knows what she's talking about. She's a fabulous candidate. And I think also we have another candidate running that I'd just like to mention, who is Elijah Mack. Do you want to talk about Elijah?
I call him our young Abraham Lincoln, and he's really a breath of fresh air. He blows everyone away when he begins talking about his platform, about why he's running. He has got a passion for politics, and he really wants to be able to serve in the capacity of a legislature at state or eventually Washington, D.C. He's in his third year of college with Liberty College, and he supports a lot of the principles of the Republican Party. He wants strong community, free markets, wild nature, and he wants liberty. He wants government out of our business, and it's so refreshing to hear a Gen Z talk about that. In fact, that should be an entirely another show. We'll have him back to talk about it. But I think I want our voters to know that there's a lot of optimism in what's around Frank Troyce's race and around where the direction of the Republican Party is going. So help us to continue the good progress that we're making. We really need you to vote for our endorsed candidates. They really are the best choice for us moving forward in 2025. And if you can't vote for me, at least vote for Dar Ringling. And my intention is just to continue serving the committee in whatever capacity is necessary. I've promised my family I will not continue as chair into 2025, but I will continue to serve and support whoever is going to be the next chair. So really, we should be optimistic, Republicans. Make sure you get out to vote. March 5th is a very, very important election.
It is. And on that March 5th ballot, we also have another measure for those who are residents of Santa Barbara City, and that is Measure A. And this is something that we are recommending strongly, a no vote. This allows the City Council to decide who should be awarded a bid regardless of whether or not they are the lowest bidder. This is not a good idea at all. It opens the door for backdoor deals, for corruption, for things happening that should not be happening. If the city wants to qualify the bidders before the bid, they should do that. They have the opportunity to do that, to make sure people are bonded, insured, that they have the expertise to do the project that's involved. This is a terrible idea, and we are absolutely recommending a no vote on Measure A. My background's in construction. I was part of J.W. Bailey Construction Company. We ran the company for 63 years. It was always awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, and that made it fair. It also helped us keep irregular policies from happening here in California, which often happen on the East Coast. Part of that is you have to list your subcontractors that you are going to use. That is a necessary part of the bid. I can see where backdoor deals and corruption are simply going to have opportunities to expand and, profligate if this goes through. I really hope that the citizens of Santa Barbara will vote no on Measure A. And then I want to talk for just a few more minutes about Bobbi. Bobbi and I met in 2012.
12, yeah, I think so.
And neither one of us had much experience, but I thought she had a great deal of experience. She thought I did. That was rather amusing. And we both ended up finding out that we are passionate about America, passionate about opportunity and equal opportunity, not equal outcome, that we love history, we love the Constitution, we love California and Santa Barbara. And I was just amazed at her progress as secretary and how she embraced the role, how she absolutely brought so much to the table, how she loves meeting people and inspiring them to do things they didn't know they could do. I remember when we were walking precincts one time, and I'm looking at the sign and it says no trespassing. And what does Bobbi say? She says, no problem. And through the door she goes. So I learned that you can look at things quite differently with Bobbi there, but she has led with kindness, with dignity, with consideration, with listening to everybody and everybody's point of view, and a lot of integrity. So I am really hoping that despite the fact that she's no longer in my district, District 2, she's now in District 1 where she's not as well known, that she definitely gets elected to this Central Committee on March 5th. So,
and I'd like to add, Julie, thank you for that. And I would just like to add that we have a lot of unity in our committee. I've heard, complaints there's not unity in the Republican Party here locally. There really is unity. Most of us want the same things. And there is, across our county, we have many people from 19 to 80 who are all working towards getting Republicans elected. And I really would welcome any of you that are watching, that are interested in running for office, give us a call or email us, and we can look up your location where you live and what seats are available for you to run in. And or if you want to be a helper working with the committee, there's so many things that have to be done. I'm part of a team. It's not just me, it's not my success, it's our success. And we've moved the needle at least a little bit here in the county. If we can get Frank Choice elected, we will have made a significant difference to the quality of everyone's life. Remember, we are in a county that's full of abundance. I am full of hope. I think there is no reason why our county can't become the jewel that it once was. There's no reason why our kids can't get a top quality education. It comes down to we need to get back to a two-party system here in Santa Barbara County. We need to swing the vote back to common sense, back to the right. We want to break the power of the Democratic power in this town and in our schools. That takes a team of people dedicated. And what gives me great inspiration is when you look at the American Revolution, it was a very few dedicated people that made it happen.
yes, you are right. It was only about 5%, less than 5% that fought. Another 5% directly involved, another 10% indirectly involved, and the rest sat on the sidelines to see who would win.
Right.
So we're not sitting on the sidelines. We're out here front and center. We're urging you to vote. We have
vote
the voter
today.
drive.
Don't delay.
Yeah, don't delay. Vote today. Vote the Republican slate. And I want to just say thank you so much, Bobbi, for being here today and coming on to Santa Barbara Forum.
Shall we toast, Julie?
Oh, we shall toast.
Toast to 2024.